We are good. I hope everybody is well. I am always top of mind of people that the holidays, which on one end can be so joyful. It is for me. It's one of the few times in the year where I intentionally slow down and dive deep into my family and what's going on with them and really get out of self. But I'm very empathetic to what this time of the year represents for individuals that are perhaps missing a loved one or an experience or a time in their life. I just want to recognize those of you all that the holidays mean something different, if that makes sense. So I am actually teeing up a couple of things, a couple of questions here. This is Career and Coffee. I used to do this live on LinkedIn and then repost it on YouTube, but I've been on Substack since late summer and I have just been enjoying everything about it in comparison to the other platforms and the experience. I think this is a good home. I feel good about having this conversation here. I believe it'll be well received. Grab your coffee. This is Career and Coffee and utilize the chat. Thank you all for tapping in. For those of you new to me, I am Jraya Nicole. I'm an author, career strategist, the tech jargon term. But what does that mean? That means I help people find joy in work outside of the traditional container of corporate. The thing about my vantage point is I was an early entrepreneur for 2 decades before I entered corporate. And when I entered corporate, I entered with that entrepreneurial mindset, and that allowed me to leverage a thought processes I now know it was not the norm. And I rapid climb, if you will, climb the corporate ladder. I attribute my success in corporate to my entrepreneurial beginnings, to my entrepreneurial mindset. So this is an unfiltered talk, unscripted. I do have some questions that I want to address because we are talking about 2026. Can y'all believe this? Time absolutely waits for no one. I want to talk about the strategy behind a pivot, the exits. And for those of you that are saying, okay, I know corporate is not for me, but I don't know what the next step looks like, I'm your girl. I am absolutely your girl. So I've got the questions pulled up in quick housekeeping. I drop your questions in the chat. Let's dive in. Let's get into this. So as we look at 2026 now, what is our now doing for our next? And it's not from a place of January 1st, New Year's resolutions, or I'm burnt out, or I hate my job. Not from a place of desperation, but from a place of decision. Y'all with me? I just want to highlight in this Career and Coffee, the best moves come from strategy and stability, not panic. Now, I do understand because I've experienced a layoff, a corporate restructuring, and I have the hindsight experience of having to make decisions in the uncontrollable. So I get that, but I'm a huge advocate for what I call career offense, which is having a plan before you need a plan. So much of an advocate, my book is based on that because I experienced two corporate layoffs, and one was extremely traumatic, extremely chaotic. And the second one was smooth sailing 5 years later. My second corporate layoff actually was at the peak. I had just hit top percent in a US Fortune 50 company. It was at the height of my sales career. The irony, right? But I was so ready when I got that 15-minute Zoom because one, I had learned to understand the market, read the rooms and things of that nature. Those are the things that I help people tap into, reading the room, reading the market, understanding what's coming down the pipeline without it having being explicitly told to you. So back to what I was saying, the best moves come from a plan, stability, strategy, not panic. So we want to plan our exits just as grand as we plan our interests while we're on the mountaintop, while we still have leverage. Let me know in the chat if you feel me, right? As I get a sip of coffee. In my book, Choice Destinations, I talk about this idea of prepping while you're still employed, utilizing and packaging and starting to position for those of you that say, okay, I don't know what the next looks like. Let's be real. None of us know what our next looks like. And if somebody is coaching or consulting under that, they have it all figured out. You have the wrong coach or consultant. Let's just be real, but we can definitely mitigate some things. We can definitely plan, right? In this career in coffee, I talk about in my book, corporate currency. A lot of people just don't understand how truly rich they are, how truly, and it goes beyond bank account. It goes beyond a severance package. It goes beyond a 401k stock. That's part of the journey of wealth building, but it's well beyond that, because if that's the case, we wouldn't have so many, including myself a few years back, so many high performing, ambitious professionals earning six figures that are truly unhappy and misaligned. We absolutely know that money and salary and revenue is not the answer to our happiness. So what is? Hey, for you all tapping in, this is Career and Coffee. Appreciate you being here. We're talking all things 2026. Like, what does that look like? What are we doing now for our next? And I was just saying, the best moves come in strategy. The best plans come from stability, not chaos. And although we can't control what we can't control, we definitely can get in offense. And that's my jam. We can get in a posture of offense. Let me define a couple of things, because I have a lot of professionals I work with. They describe their current situation as being burnt out. And I think now, as we're scrolling on our social medias, the term burnt out is burnt out. It's burnt out. But let me give you a key difference from burnout versus what it probably is, which is misalignment. Burnout says you need rest. Burnout is, okay, I need a break. I need a vacation. I need rest. Misalignment, this isn't it anymore. This isn't mine anymore. Misalignment normally reveals itself in what I call in my book, the slow drip. Okay. So here's the test. I want to give you a little insider tip, especially now. This is really, if you take a 2-3 week vacation, if you afforded that luxury, and you come back rested and you still feel the pull to leave, that's not burnout. That's a calling. Your gut is data. Y'all with me? Your gut is data. So when you hear the term, when I say read the room, I'm also talking about reading your internal compass. This is, yeah, we can't sleep on this, because a lot of the times we look for the answers outside of what is already within us. We look for external validation. We don't need it. So burnout, that can be fixed with a few boundaries, maybe a new role, a different manager. Burnout can be fixed. Misalignment can't be fixed by staying in the same system. Misalignment can't be fixed by staying in the same system that maybe once was serving you at a different life stage and you've outgrown. And completely unfiltered wrong, we gotta stop feeling guilty for honoring the growth. What are we doing? What are we doing? We have to stop feeling guilty for evolution. We gotta be unapologetic. Bold outcomes, fruitful outcomes require bold, unapologetic thinking. Misalignment calls for a different container altogether. It is not burnout. So the beautiful exit, for those of you that have been on my feed, the beautiful exit, it starts, this is one thing that I'm so excited about, because I wish I had this when I was in my own layoff season and how to leverage that. I just completed the companion to my book, which is the actual, this is the why, this is the philosophy, and it goes into Understanding who you are without a title, choice destinations. My first But where people got tripped up on is because, especially if corporate has been your only path and career, is the framework. What is the framework, Jraya? Like what is, come on, talk to me. The mapping, the how. You get the why. You want more time freedom. Let's just call it what it is. You want your income uncapped. You don't want a 3 to 5% raise. You kidding me? For all of this, a 3 to 5% raise? It's not even worth it anymore. So I was able to package this. And for those of you that are waiting for that perfect moment, no, no, no. This is the 6 weeks. You will have a plan, a 6-week roadmap. Because what I see for the people I work with, and I was just on a discovery call with a young lady, been with her company for 7 years, and she said, I kept moving the goalposts. When my daughter graduated college, when this, when that. She kept moving the goalposts on when she was going to make a decision. And that 15-minute phone call, she decided to press the green button on saying, you know what? No, I have what I need, and it's time for me to exit corporate. If you've been on my feed, this is what the beautiful exit. It is a roadmap, if you will, the companion to choice destination. So let's get into some questions here. So I had set this up to say, hey, I'm going live on Substack, and some people that couldn't be here, I want to just answer some questions. How do I leave without blowing up my finances? That's the realest you're going to get. Because we got to keep the lights on, right? We got to to be curious, to explore is a luxury. I think those of us, particularly those of us in America, don't understand the theory of choice is a luxury. How do I leave without blowing up my finances is it's just a raw and a real and a necessary question. So you don't have to choose between purpose and stability. Let me say that. You don't have to choose between purpose and stability. You can build a bridge between them. Now, I don't want to get granular. I am not a financial advisor, although I do lead you to the resources on how to start planning that financial runway. But I'm just going to be real. You'll hear you need 12 months, you need 18 months. In America, some people they don't even have enough runway for a $500 emergency. Let's speak to the reality of the times. I advise 3 to 6 months of expenses, basic expenses, save, gives you some room to make a strategic decision, not a survival decision. It gives you some room to make a decision. Second, while you're still employed, now I understand the corporate politic and I understand you have to move sometimes in silence. Most of my clients, to be honest with you all, they're in my DMs. You won't see them in my public comments. They're in my email and my DMs. And because they have a high profile role within an organization to where if they were to openly express, and it's sad, doesn't this become isolating? That's why I do what I do, because I become the outlet for things that you can't say out loud. So testing your move while you're still employed. The thing about that is you have to figure out what type of organization you work for. Do you have some haters in it? People that will never understand what you're seeking? Acknowledge that. So the testing has to look different based on where you're at, but it can look like consulting, which is what I do. Testing, launching some things. I don't like personally the term side hustle because it minimizes. In my book, I talk about the big picture. For those of you, it's North Star thinking. It's your driving. So you develop this big picture and you start chipping away at it. You start testing because there's 3 things that you're going to need realistically that I coach people through to get to your career sweet spot. You already have it before you come talk to me, which is your corporate currency, which is going to be your skills, your education. You got all the degrees, the experience, the network. That's your corporate currency. Then we address the misalignment. The third piece of finding your career sweet spot is the passion piece. What do you want? What lights you up? For some people, a 4-day work week working from home, that's it. But for some people, they can never that working at home is not their desire. So we honor what does it look like when we develop this big picture? But here's the thing, and this is why it's all congruence. You can't have one without the other. So you have the package. We help you position a corporate currency. And then we figure out where you're going in your big picture, what's going to light you up. But can I be real to my corporate sisters and brothers, particularly those that are no strangers to success? If the market won't pay you for it, we need to go back to the drawing board. If there's not a demand for it, test it, confirm. We need to refine that thing and position that thing, because you can have the greatest idea, but if it's not presented and packaged and visible, you're going to stay the best kept secret. Y'all with me? Let me know if you got any questions. I'm a teacher. For those you don't know, I'm a teacher at heart in adult education, but I want to make Career and Coffee something more conversational. So if you have anything, please drop them in the comments. So the question that we're addressing right now is, how do you leave without blowing up your finances? This is good. So most people think it's stay safe or leap into the unknown. It's neither. It's strategic staging. You position yourself, as I just talked about, externally while you still have leverage, while you're still earning internally. Okay? We don't want to make decisions from desperation. Those are things that I get very granular about in the beautiful exit. The third question here, let's see. How do I position myself as an expert? Oof, positioning. The key word. So that question alone tells me you are it. How do I position myself? Just peeling back the layers on that question as an expert after leaving. So the work is already done. You just know it has to be packaged. So to answer that, you're not starting over. We get into translation. That's what the sweet spot is about. That's what the market demand is about, with the translation. And that's where we talk about positioning and language, and how do you start becoming visible and specifically speaking to those you wish to serve. Because corporate gave you the proof, the results. They gave you the systems, the revenue generated, the problem solved. For me, I was negotiating $1 million logistics contracts, but how did I package that to become a consultant to other small businesses? Because the expertise, it doesn't disappear when you leave corporate. How do you become credible? And here's the thing, just to start getting the wheels turning. You don't say I'm new to this, because you're not. You say I've spent X years doing, and I see it. I've been scrolling on Substack, and I love to see bios that say I've been doing this for such and such years at this capacity. And now I support others doing the same. You have instant credibility. For me, I was a top percent earner, revenue generator at a U.S. Fortune 50 company. If that doesn't say, oh yeah, it's not a career change. Let's look at it as a career reintroduction. The people who struggle the most with this, they're the ones that think their value is tied to a title. A lot of people I work with don't even know how to introduce themselves anymore in parties. What do? You can instantly see it. It takes a period of time to get that statement, because you were so used to saying, I work at and I do this. The company became your safe zone. There's some unpacking there. Thank you all for tapping in. I had started off this live earlier just addressing that I recognize that the holidays, although it's a very joyous time, I look forward to it, spending time with my family. I do want to be empathetic to those of you that this time of year brings on a different side of experience. For those of us I work with, most of the clients I work with, they middle-aged like me, and maybe missing a loved one or missing a home or things of that nature. So I do want to stop and just recognize the season of the year that we are in, because for some, it's not as joyous. I just want to set the tone there. I had just posted a note earlier this morning as I was thinking about, okay, what are you going to talk about on your first Career in Coffee? or I think this might be my second live. And it hit me. A lot of people think it's got to be a trade off. They think I can't be spontaneous and be stable, or I have to trade purpose for wealth. That is a big one. And I'm here to advocate you can have both. You can absolutely have both. You can build a runway and still take calculated risks. You can absolutely do that. It was top of mind early today because it's almost like when people feel like I just hit my 1 year anniversary. See the flowers. With my husband and I celebrating our first year anniversary. And people think they have to sacrifice so much when they get married. Yeah, there's some things that are going to be different from being single, but the same concept happens when people leave corporate. And for those of you that are new to me, I was an entrepreneur for almost 2 decades before I entered corporate. And that allowed me to enter corporate with a different mindset, a different boldness, and I increased my salary in 3 years in my last corporate role by 177%. Paid relocation to the city that I had always dreamed of moving to. I attribute that to my entrepreneurial mindset and everything that I talk about in my book, Choice Destinations. And being able to navigate 2 corporate layoffs, I also find it a similar temperament on being an entrepreneur because entrepreneurs ride the ups and downs of business. My resilience was formed early on, and I'm so thankful for that path because corporate, it could bruise you up pretty good. For those of us that it's corporate can bruise you up pretty good. And I'm talking to the ambitious professionals. I'm not talking to coasting people. I'm talking to leading managers, executives, those that climb that ladder rung by corporate can bruise you. What does that look like? What does bruising look like? Bruising looks like you're a tenured employee and you see somebody that received a promotion darn well they didn't earn. Let's keep it a buck. Corporate bruising looks like seeing people rewarded and did not put in the sweat equity. Is it fair? No. Is it real? Yes. Can you navigate it? Absolutely. I did. I leveraged it. Corporate bruises, they look, I mean, I'm gonna leave that there because it is Thanksgiving. I want to stay in a gratitude state, if you will. But it's all for the good. It's all for the good. So for those of you that say, you know what, I am ready to do my own thing. I'm ready to uncap my income. I'm ready to serve in my purpose. I'm ready to just not deal with it. The freedom of choice is so powerful. And I think a lot of those that, especially those I work with, they ponder and ponder, moving the goalposts. I'll do this when this happens or when this happens. I'm just here to say there's never going to be a perfect moment. And sometimes for those of you that have had to ride the wave of a layoff, hindsight, for me, it was a blessing because it force fits you into a state. And the fact that I had 2 corporate layoffs, I learned so much from the first one when the second one happened 5 years later in a 15-minute Zoom call at the peak of my corporate career. My response was, oh, this is so good. In uncertainty, I just knew my gut data was there. I was reading the market. It was like a confirmation. What could feel so uncontrollable to someone, if you understand to pick up the cues, you actually can control the situation. You can control 90% of it if you get on the side of offense. And don't get me wrong, I'll step in and I'll coach you and consult you if things happen, because all you gotta do is watch the news. You Companies are restructuring, AI is disrupting, but there's a wave you can ride. I just want to set the tone on that. I invite you all, if you catch the replay, drop a comment, let me know. If you want to jump on a career and coffee chat with me, I would love to continue to do this. I have been pleasantly surprised on the audacity the audacity of vision. I am finding a tribe here of people that understand that a corporate container is not the end all be all. If you're a baby boomer or you're like me, middle age, it was force fed on us. You do go to school, you go to college, you get the degree, you work for the 30 year, you get the pension, you get the gold watch. We know that linear path is obsolete. We know it's gone. Can I get an amen in the chat? And I love that this cute phrase, and I'm totally going on a rant, but if you allow me, I love this cute phrase, portfolio career. That's marketing 101. Let's be real. It's an accidental career that is now widely accepted. We are taking a messy route and packaging it and blending this expertise, becoming coaches, consultants, experts. It is what it is, but call it what it is. I was a service professional, entrepreneur, owner, operator in the beauty professional. I became an adult trade educator, which led to me being a program director, which led to me being a vocational school director. I then entered the land of logistics at a Fortune 50 company, which I was engrossed in $1 million logistic contracts during COVID. You can't script for that. You can't script for that. But now, because of the blessing of this messy path, I consult organizations in their workforce transitions in regards to supplier diversity. How did that come together? Well, I have logistics experience. I've navigated corporate layoffs. I've managed HR recruitment and education departments. You can't write those scripts. These are conversations. People are scared. I remember when that layoff, the first one, caught me off guard. I was in a different life stage, post divorce, small children. It was traumatic to my bone. And my calling and purpose now is to support people to not be in that situation. Hence the birth of my book, Choice Destinations. And now, shameless plug, the release of the workbook, which is a 6-week strategic roadmap, Beautiful Exit, which is very granular on getting you in the best offensive posture to exit corporate in a strategic, beautiful, non-chaotic way while you're still employed. It'll meet you where you are. You don't, even if you're outside of corporate already, you've made the exit. It definitely refines the North Star. When I post this, I will drop the links for you all. Choice Destinations is available in print, ebook, and audio because I am an audio book. I eat it up. So I made sure to have that. And for those of you that are thought leaders, when things come into the natural that work for your calling, it's a moment to be celebrated. Can I leave you all with a gem before I jump off? It's hard to wrangle. I have adult children. I'm an empty nester. Me and my husband and I are empty nesters. It's hard to wrangle those young adults in. So I turn Thanksgiving with permission. I don't bombard them, but with permission, I turn our Thanksgiving gathering before the football into a family legacy planning day. So I just want to drop that gem for those of you that have maybe family businesses, family LLCs, not even that formal. You just need to do some family planning. I like to have this around the time where people are in a rested state, a joyful state, because we talk about some of the hard things. What are the hard things? If something happened to one of our loved ones, what is the plan? If you can't tell by now, I am a planner. My doctoral research is strategic leadership because I believe you should have a plan before you need a plan. Now, does that mean everything's going to be perfect and go to plan? No, that's not what I mean. But when you are pursuing your dreams, your ambition, and your vision, there's going to be a lot of distractions. If you can have that play, that roadmap, if you can have that blueprint together, it keeps you not busy. It keeps you on path to do what works for you. This Thanksgiving, I want to share with you all, we are doing our annual legacy planning day where everybody will understand where important documents are, what's the plan if X, Y, and Z happens, and also share some love thoughts. share some sentiment of how much each family member means to us. I think that's a good note to end on. I pray that you all have a rested and refreshed holiday break. And please drop a comment if any of this landed with you all. I'll talk with you all later.